Well, yes, to set the context right, let me start by pointing out how India and United States are very important trade partners, because for us a lot of exports is something that we do to the United States, whether it is apparels, whether it is of course gems and jewelries, or whether it's sector like pharma. A lot of Indian companies are actually dependent on US to spur that export demand, which India of course has seen a rise in. Not just that, even for certain imports we're dependent on US. For instance, some of the important electronic apparatus is something that we bring home from the United States. There is mineral fuel and oils as well as nuclear reactors and boilers, and gold and other gems and jewelries is also something that we depend on import from the United States. But what is important with respect to this election is the fact that the two candidates, that is Ms. Kamala Harris as well as Mr. Donald Trump, have differentiated views on a lot of important key topics. For instance, the top 3 or 4 that come to mind is of course the corporate taxation, because you have Ms. Kamala Harris talking about how corporate tax will go up quite materially, while you have Mr. Trump talking about how corporate tax is expected to come down. That would mean a big shift as far as the corporate mood is concerned in the United States, and that will have an impact back home as well. Anti-China stance is something that is common for both of them, but the intensity is very different. Of course, we do know how Mr. Trump is planning to put very sizable tariffs on China, so that will really get impacted. Moving on to the next one and talking about what will change. Illegal immigration deportation is something that both have a consensus on, that it needs to be curbed, but again, the extent of it and the way of doing it is very different. While Mr. Trump is talking about the complete curbing of the illegal immigrants as well as deportation of some of them, Ms. Kamala Harris is talking about changing the legal rules a bit. Having said that, both have consensus that inflation is something that needs to be brought down, and healthcare cost is something that they plan on bringing down, and that's a bit negative for the Indian pharma companies, because of course if there is cap on prices in the United States, we back home are not very profitable. What's also expected to change is the stance on Fed, because you have Mr. Trump talking about how he wants to influence the Fed decision, while Ms. Kamala Harris wants to stay away from that. Energy is something Mr. Trump is a lot more tilted towards fossil fuels, versus Kamala, which would have a status quo. Geopolitics, of course, because the defense spend is expected to go up in both the cases, but of course you have Mr. Trump talking about how he's going to curb the benefits or the support which they're giving to Ukraine and NATO for now. Net, what does it mean for the Indian markets? And the brokerages believe that Ms. Kamala Harris would be neutral. It will be more of the same. It will be boring for the Indian markets to that extent. But a Trump victory could be long-term positive. Now remember, a Trump victory is going to be negative for emerging markets as a whole, because of the entire dollar move and the entire manufacturing and export setup that he has. But on a relative basis, it will be better for India, and that's why we are calling it, a better victory coming in for India thereabouts. In terms of the sectors, those will come up for you on the screen. What would really a Kamala win mean for India in terms of specific sectors? What would Trump victory mean? But on a net basis, Kamala Harris would be more of the same, a status quo, and neutral for Indian markets. Trump victory will be long-term positive. In the immediate term, there might be some hiccups that might come through.